Hello, fellow traders. 'Tis I, the Rumpled One. Let's talk trading. It's Friday, November the 17th, the year 2017. Weekly wrap up. It's Friday, so kind of wrapping up the week here. Unless you want to hold your trade open over the weekend, it's time to exit. Hopefully, you're exiting with a profit. Well, let's just take a look here. You know, the first chart is the weekly gap fill, and as you notice, there's only a couple of pairs that didn't fill the gap. But if you recall, we had some pretty nice gaps on the pound pairs. So I don't know if you traded those. I gave you the heads up, but you know, you have to click the mouse. And you can see here the yen had a very nice crossover here on the weekly. And you shift here to the daily, and so you can see here the weekly open. We have Friday, Thursday, Wednesday, Tuesday, and Monday right here. That weekly open. And you can see there's over 100 pips. So if you were the patient kind of trader and you said, well, I believe it's heading south, you could be picking up 100 pips. Not too shabby, right? Once again, simple horizontal line trade. And if you took the wick zone trade here out of the lower wick zone, there was an opportunity here, and then there's another opportunity here. Actually, there was one here, but it wasn't much. But you can see here that would have been worth over 50 pips. So once again, there was opportunities on those simple trades. The weekly open or weekly buy zone trade, weekly crossover, and also jumping out of the weekly wick zone. And let's move on here. Okay, once again, almost the same chart setup. We're looking at the hourly here. And here you can see there was a breakout of the lower wick zone right there. And you can see there was a buy zone trade to the upside and then a buy zone trade to the downside. So once again, profitable trades, horizontal lines. And just looking here on the day, looking at the close versus the open, you can see here there's been some nice movement today. On the yen, 58 pips to the downside. Now let's look, the euro is 13 pips to the upside right now, but you see open to high was 53. And open to low was only 4, so obviously the euro moved to the upside. Here's the open, a run up, and it's headed back down. And once again, the buy zone from the daily's perspective. This trade was only good for a few pips, or you might have taken a hit. In this case, you could have jumped in on the other side and more than made up for the loss. Because remember, price has to range, and it ranges from the open. So it's going to go up, down, or it'll go down, up. But that's where the range comes in. How far it moved from the open. And that's why I have the high minus open and open minus low. You add these two together, it's high minus low for the range. But as you can see, we're trading away from the open. Well, here on this particular case, high minus the close, close minus the low. We're trading away from the high and away from the low. That's so we measure it that way. So buy zone, once again, purple dots, that's the pivot. and price likes to move to the pivot. Here we have the rat zone, red rat zone, green rat zone. Maybe I should turn this to dark green. But anyway, you can see there was a little movement out, but now we're back in. But the red rats got fat today. And the wick zone, once again, using the wick zone indicator, it's showing you it went to the upper wick zone, came out into the lower wick zone. So you had opportunity to go short here and an opportunity to go short there if you missed that boat. But that was a nice trade. Now let's see, at 11240, that was worth 60. That was worth 30. Nothing to sneeze at either way. Finally, just looking at simple price action, higher highs, higher lows, lower lows. You can see this last movement here. We had a rat reversal. Red candle closes, green candle closes. You could have taken that right here, and you might have had to sit in that trade for a while. Or if you wanted to, you could have popped in somewhere around here. In either case, or here, earlier, if you traded the Asian session, I believe, you see it put in a, actually this is an outside candle, higher high, lower low. You see here we had a break of that low and a break of that low right there, and down she went. Once again, people ask, where would you put the stop? Well, let's take a look here. So if this was your trigger line, right here, this high, highest high, that would be maybe the highest high plus 1 or 2 pips. That would be where your stop is. So you look at that distance, you calculate your position size accordingly to keep your risk the same. But you see, once again, that's simple. If that's your trigger line short, right there would be the sense. Or if you wanted to, you could even say, well, hey, you have a smaller position size, give it a lot more room to wiggle, and you could have put your stop loss up here. So either here or here would have been a couple of places to put your stop loss. So I think that pretty much wraps things up. I'm trying to remember if I got any questions yesterday. Oh, I did release batch 6 finally. So thank you for being patient with me. I was making hay while the sun was shining here at the ranch, but the rains started coming in last week, so back to the old MetaTrader compiler working on code. So I'll probably have, I don't know how many more updates to the dashboard I'll have this year, but next year I think I'm going to have to completely redo the dashboard because I want to put a couple features in. So hopefully people will enjoy that. But I'm pretty happy with the dashboard right now. It's just, like I said, there's just a couple of features that I'm thinking about adding in just to give you an idea. If we look at the inputs to the dashboard here. Okay. Right here, the threshold. I want to add at least one more threshold. Because there's usually a maximum threshold and a minimum threshold. So I'm thinking about doing something like that, unless I can figure out a way to do it differently. But I'm thinking maybe 2, possibly 3, so you have like a midpoint crossover type of threshold. Like if you're using RSI, you might want to crossover, be alert at the 50 level, and then at the 20 and the 80. Or if you're using something like, I think, CCI, you'd want to have alert when it crossed over to 0, same way with MACD and stochastics. And then if there was some extreme, you want to have alerts on either side. So that was one of the things that I was thinking about doing. And let's see. And I'm also thinking we've got the X1 external indicator. I'm thinking about adding, so maybe you can have like, 3 external indicators that you might want to use. And the reason being is that, for example, if you're using, MACD, you've actually got 3 different levels you might want to look at. But see, right here, you can only use 1 buffer. Now, the other option is I might be able to add more buffers to each one, so you can then have, that many more inputs to the dashboard for from an external indicator. So those are just a couple of the ideas that I had, and I think somebody else might have given me one or a couple of ideas that I might see if I can implement. I tell you, the indicator's getting, there's a lot of code in there. It's still pretty simple the way I wrote it. So anyway, you keep those comments and suggestions coming, and if it makes sense to implement, I will definitely do that. And as we can see, it seems like the yen is continuing down. I'm not too sure where the yen wants to go at the moment. We'll just have to wait and see. You can see maybe it might want to push all the way down into the 111s. I'm not sure. But you can't be sure in trading, otherwise there wouldn't be any trading at all. So I think that wraps it up for the week, fellow traders. Hope you had a good week, as in profitable week. And as always, it's not what you trade, it's how you trade it. The Rumpled One signing off for the weekend.